All right, we're looking at section 11, the announcement to the shepherds in Luke 2, 8 to 20. This is an exciting passage. I know you hear it every Christmas, and you probably maybe you get tired of hearing it, but there's some really exciting stuff that goes on here. The first question you were to answer is concerning the message of the angels, and you were to compare the shepherds' experience to those of Zechariah and Mary. Okay, what kind of things did you find in common looking at the shepherds and then looking at Zechariah and Mary? What'd you find, Griffin?
For both of them, the angel told them what was going to happen.
Okay, so both of them, the angel said what would happen. Okay, what else? Right?
For both experiences, they all filled with fear.
Okay, fear is involved. Good. What else? Anybody have anything else? Luke?
All the news was about a child to be born.
Oh, good. Good observation. So no matter who it was, there was a child involved. Very good.
For the shepherds and Mary, they both had faith.
All right. Two of them had faith right away, the shepherds and Mary. Good. Anything else? All right, those are good observations. Let's see. If you had, let's count 2 points on that. You should have been able to come up with at least 2 things. So let's count that as 2 points. If you didn't have anything, then you lost 2. If you had one of those things that we mentioned, then you know what you want to do. All right, any questions about any answers you had? See whether it counts or not? All right, number 73, a thinking question. Why do you think God chose to announce the birth of his son to shepherds? John?
God chose them because they would represent Jesus being our shepherd and leading us to the end.
Okay, that's good because Jesus is our shepherd, and so he went to shepherds. Okay, that's a good thought. Any other ideas, Luke?
Like the shepherds are like kind of common or low, and I thought it kind of like showed that like everyone gets the good news.
Yeah. What if Jesus had been born in a palace and only the royal people were there? Would the rest of the people think, well, I guess it's not for us? Yeah. But the shepherds were the lowest strata of society. And so if the birth of Jesus is announced to shepherds, then anybody can get in on this. If it's for shepherds, it could be for anybody. I think that's the key reason here. Very good. Any other reasons that you thought of? All right, how many had one of those answers? Okay, good. Even though it's a thinking question, I think it was relatively easy to come up with, so we'll count that as a point. All right, 74. Analyze the terror of the shepherds in view of the following question. Of what significance was the appearance of the glory of the Lord? Okay, this will be for a bonus. This was maybe a little more difficult. It requires some thought. Anybody have an idea how to answer that question? Jordan?
It seems like they were afraid, but when like the glory of the Lord was said, like it was like told them like nothing bad was going to happen to them.
Okay, so initially there's fear, but it is God, and so especially when the angel said, "Don't be afraid," there was comfort in that. Okay.
I feel like when the glory of the Lord was shown to them, they were still filled with fear because all the light and power that God has was revealed to them. God showed himself to them, and seeing God would be fearful to any man who has sinned.
Yeah. So, and being shepherds, they knew what sin was. They weren't so self-righteous as some people were, and to be in the presence of God's glory, that would really be a scary thing. Any other answers?
I said that like the high priest was like the only one that could go like behind the line and see like the glory of the Lord, and like if they went in, they would be killed, and that's it. Like if they saw this, they got it.
Okay, good. Because the high priest is really the only one that can be in God's presence. And here they are out in the field, and God's presence is there, indicated by the light, the glory of the Lord, shown around about them. Okay, good.
I put like, since it was like dark and calm outside, and then all of a sudden like just the bright light came out, kind of like scared, like,
Yeah, that would be a shock, wouldn't it? Because remember, what happened to Moses when he saw the glory of the Lord? Do you remember?
His face glowed.
Yeah, just from seeing God's glory passing by for we don't know how long, how many days, but his face shone so much that he had to put a bag over his head, essentially, because he was blinding people. Don't look at me, Moses. I can't look at you. So they're experiencing that out on the hillside, the glory of the Lord. Good answers. Anybody else? I'll tell you one other significance, and that is, according to Ezekiel, I think Emma, you mentioned about the high priest going into the Holy of Holies. Ezekiel tells us that when he was there, that actually the glory of the Lord left the temple. So it was no longer, the glory of the Lord was no longer in the Holy of Holies. And the glory of the Lord had been absent from Israel for over 400 years. Suddenly, the glory of the Lord is there again. And where is it? In the temple? No, out in the field with shepherds. It's an amazing thing. All right, we'll count that as a bonus if you had an answer that we heard and accepted. All right, number 75. What do you think the good news, a Savior has been born, Christ the Lord, meant to the shepherds? Did you think, to put yourself in their place, what would that have meant to them? A Savior has been born, Christ the Lord. John?
Prophecy is fulfilled.
Yeah, did they know the Old Testament prophecies? Yeah. Sure. So they would say, oh man, the prophecies, we've been waiting for this. It's finally come. Okay, what else, Brandon?
I also said they knew that the Messiah had come to save them from their sins, but they also thought it was being saved from the Romans.
Yeah, because that's the natural way that people thought then, that the Savior would come and drive out the Romans. Right. Anybody else? Okay, we'll give you a bonus point on that one too. Number 76. What were the three main points of the angel's message? This we should be able to get. The 3 points. Give me the first point of the message of the angel. Kayla, give me the first point.
Good news for mankind.
Okay, that's not one of my points, but you're right. That was something that they said. So my 3 points may be different than your points. That's acceptable. Another one. Mia, give me a point you have.
Today, Christ is born.
Okay, a Savior has been born. All right, is 1 point. I have something before that. Luke?
fear not.
Yeah, don't be afraid. Do not fear. Fear not. That's my first point. Anybody else have that as a point? Okay, a few of you. And so I've got one more point. Maybe you have a couple others that you saw. What's a third point? Sam?
City of David. Youth one, City of David.
Okay, that wasn't. I didn't consider that as a major point, but that certainly is a point they make that's in the city of David. Jonas?
He'll be wrapped in cloth and in the manger.
Okay, I wanted you to reevaluate my question here. You guys are coming up with a lot of points that I didn't think of, or I looked at it a different way. That's true. Joel?
There'll be peace on earth.
Okay, that's true. They said that as well. All right, not the point I had. Luke?
The Savior who is Christ.
Yeah, the Savior who is Christ or Messiah. That's my third point. So you guys had some different points than I did, which is fine. We saw it in a little bit different way.
I had glory to God as one of my points. Glory to God in the highest. It's praise God and stuff.
Oh, okay. I guess we can say that is a part of their message as well. Okay, glory to God. Any others? Marissa?
Third point was go find.
Oh, go find him. Okay, yeah. So it was about 18 points, it looks like, from what we've put together here. Any others? All right, it counts as 3 points, whichever 3 you had. 3 points. All right, number 77. What are the two features of the sign of the angel? What do you have there? What's the first feature? Stephen?
That you will be born in the city of David.
That I don't believe followed what they said would be the sign. They said there's a sign, and that comes. Yeah, I think being born in the city of David was before they said the sign. You can look it up and show me if I'm wrong. Nate?
He'd be wrapped in cloths and lying in the manger.
Okay, so the first thing is he's going to be wrapped in cloths, which indicates he's a newborn, right? And the second thing is that he would be in a manger, which means what? He's in what?
Feeding trough.
He's in a feeding trough, which would be in what kind of a location?
Okay.
In a cave or a stable, right? So the 2 points is that he's a newborn and he's in a cave, indicated by the fact that he's wrapped in cloths and in a manger. All right, so 2 features. So you should have had something similar to those 2 things. Any question? Number 78, a thinking question. Of what significance is the chant of the angels in verse 14? What did you think was the significance of the chant that they give in verse 14? Morgan, what did you have?
They're talking about God's glory and his covenant upheld.
They're talking about God's glory and what?
His covenant upheld.
And his covenant upheld. Good. Okay, good. What else? Amelia, what do you have?
That they were like praising him.
Okay, so it actually begins with praise to God, right? Sort of like what our prayers are to begin, right? With praise to God. Okay. Haley, do you have anything else?
I just had their telling of the Messiah.
Telling of the Messiah. Okay. Anything specific, John?
Those who believe in him are content and filled with the Holy Spirit.
Those who believe in him are content, you said? Okay. Jonas?
Giving him glory for like sending his son and his grace.
Right. God's grace is being extended to mankind. Brenna?
For the peace of God wants to have peace with men, he no longer wants to be separated from them.
Right, good. So the peace of God is coming to man through his grace. Okay, those are some good things to point out. Any question about your answer? Okay, we'll count that as a point 2. I think you should be able to come up with something there. Number 79, remember or investigate. You remember if you had world history or maybe someplace else. How did the shepherds know where to go? Actually, we talked about this the other day, I think.
Yeah, yesterday.
Was it a particular manger? And I asked you to look at Micah 4:8 and research that. Just to remind you, in Micah 4:8, it says that the Messiah would come to something called Migdal Eder, which is translated Tower of the Flock. And they would have known where that was. They knew the prophecy, the Tower of the Flock. And when they were told that the baby was in a manger, they knew what that was. Because the one near the Tower of the Flock was in their birthing cave, where their sheep gave birth to the lambs used for sacrifice in the temple, in particular the Passover lambs. All right, any questions about that? Hope that you find that interesting and maybe even exciting. Number 80. List 7 verbs that tell the actions of the shepherds following the angelic announcement. And I know right now you're probably going to find verbs that I didn't think of, but let's see if we can do it. Tell you what, I'm going to go down through the 7 and then see if you have anything to add. First one I have, they went with haste. Secondly, they found Mary and Joseph and the baby. Third, they saw. Fourth, they made known the saying. Fifth, they returned. Sixth, they were glorifying. And 7, they were praising God. All right, did you have anything that I didn't have? Jonas?
I started earlier, I had said, go and see.
Okay, they said,
Go when.
what did they say?
They said.
All said to one another,
Yeah,
let us go, okay, and see, okay. Brenna?
My 7th point was obeying God. Like obeying God, they praised Him.
You said obeying instead of praising?
I said obey and praise. 'cause I didn't know which.
Oh, okay. As long as you have praise there, that's the important part. Anything else? Okay, 7 points. Number 81, how does Mary respond to all of this? What does it say about Mary's response? Noel?
It says that she measured out these things and pondered them in her heart. So like, she has to be sort of thinking like, this isn't really happening. Like,
Yeah.
there has to be like that sort of thought going on.
Mhm.
And so all of this is just reconfirming that it is.
Yeah. So you need to have for your answer that she treasured these things, pondering them in her heart. And the explanation is, like Noel said, that it was kind of overwhelming what was happening, and so she had a lot to think about. Anybody address the idea of treasuring these things? Joel, what do you say about that?
I just put, she worshiped God and treasured all the gifts from Him in His heart.
Oh, okay. Good. Griff?
Huh?
Your hand is up.
Oh, no.
Do you have something else?
No,
Anything to contribute?
I had Mary treasured all of what the angel said and pondered them. Same thing.
Okay, that's not explaining it, that's just answering the first part. Sean, do you have anything more?
She was thankful to God.
Okay. Brenna?
She meditated on God's glory and grace and loved Him for it.
Okay, good. Can you imagine, I mean, this is, just put yourself in her place. You know, she's just given birth in less than great circumstances. Not only the situation, but also the location, right? In a dirty, smelly cave covered with sheep poop. Not a great place. And then all of a sudden these shepherds show up and tell her all that happened on the hillside that night, with the glory of the Lord shone around them, and the angels talking to them, and hearing the angels chanting. By the way, my wife is fond of pointing out that it doesn't say the angels sang, which is what we usually think. It says they said. I'm not sure you can make a big point out of that. I try to tell her that. It could be that they were singing. We don't really know. But it could be that they were just chanting as well. But you can imagine them telling Mary all this. And she's just taking it all in. And what else can she do with it but just kind of hang on to it? She would say, this is a night I'll never forget, right? It's treasured in her heart. She's just something that she would always hang on to. All right. Any questions? Well, let's count 81. 1 point for giving the response and another point for explaining it. All right, so we have 2 points for number 81. The assignment for tomorrow is to do sections 12 and 13. Section 12 is the circumcision of Jesus, and section 13 is the presentation of Jesus in the temple. And I think you'll find that interesting. These are a couple of passages that generally aren't talked about too much, so this may be new information for you. All right, any questions about the assignment then, 12 and 13?